So this is my interview with Shonice here about the criminalization of police and also the Black Lives Matter movement and how that's affecting college students today. So, based on The Guardian, 844 people have been killed in the U.S. by cops, and that number is growing. This is based on The Guardian. The numbers kind of vary based on the website. It says 706 people were shot and killed by cops. Native Americans and blacks were among the highest numbers, and they're saying that it averages about 99 people each month. How accurate do you think those numbers are?
It sounds about right. Every time I go on social media, I see a new hashtag for someone being killed by the cops. It's a constant thing, so that lines up right about with what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
See, that's interesting to hear. I actually did this interview with criminal justice. One of the ladies here, I think she's the head of it, I believe. And so she went through and she said that there are all kinds of different numbers, and she felt like they were a little too high. I just wanted to know what you felt about that, if anything.
I feel like every time I'm on social media, it's a new name. Every day, something's new. So 800 a year in 2016, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think so too. Do you think there's a correlation with minorities in crime?
I think.
Like,
do you think that minorities commit more crimes, or are they?
Studies, like some studies are showing, like they go through and they say, well, the reason is because more minorities are involved in police shootings because more minorities are involved in crime. Some people believe that to be true, so that's why I wanted to see what you thought about it.
I can see where they get that, but I also think that minorities are policed more.
Mm-hmm.
When you police a whole community more than you would another community, you're bound to run into more people in that community.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
So it might be a combination of both of those things, because that has to do with like socioeconomic thing. Minorities, they're not paid to the full dollar of a white male, so they might find themselves in more situations where they're trying to get money and not doing it the legal way. So it's probably a combination of both, but I also do think that they are policed a lot more than other communities.
That brings up a really, really good point. And so based on that statement, where you're saying like socioeconomically minorities are usually paid less. So like, how do you think the media is portraying what's happening in these minority communities where people are and they're not, maybe they are more involved in crime, maybe they're not, and how do you think the media is showing them? Do you think they're showing that they are more involved or they're not?
I think in recent years it's gotten a lot better. But I still think it needs work. I think it does still need some improvement, but it has gotten a lot better.
So you think the media is doing more to help the movement?
For the most part, I think so. I haven't really seen any. I'm trying to think. I don't see the media really. I see a whole lot more color on TV now. I see that the media outlets are trying to outreach to different minorities and all kinds of people. So I think it's getting a lot better, and I don't think they're hurting in a negative way.
That's a good thing. I'm glad to see those things too. So my next question is about the Black Lives Matter movement directly. Do you think the stance of the Black Lives Matter movement is rightfully acting in terms of police brutality, looking at the riots in Charlotte and down, I don't even like to call them riots, but more like protests, down in Charleston and all over the country pretty much. We've seen them in the bigger cities. Do you think that they're rightfully acting, that they're going to produce a change with those?
Well, it is their right to peacefully protest. That's not federal law. You're allowed to peacefully protest. I think it's unfortunate when you see things get violent at those kind of things, but I see where they're coming from. People are tired of being mistreated, and they feel like being peaceful isn't getting them anywhere. And they're trying to be peaceful since Martin Luther King, and improvement has been little. So I get where they're coming from. I do wish it could be another way, but I think it wouldn't have to be that way if the government would respond to them and respect what they're saying, take consideration and hear them out and actually give them some leeway. But for the most part, most protests are peaceful. I do think they're right in going in that direction. You don't want to see anyone get hurt.
Right, absolutely.
But yeah, I think
So, like, as a Black college-educated woman, or more almost considered college-educated, you know, could you see yourself, you know, going along with these peaceful protests? Like, could you find yourself in those situations? You know, rightfully standing up for you don't, because you don't want to be mistreated once you're out into the workforce, right?
right. I could see myself there. As long as it stays peaceful.
Right.
I would love to be a part of something like that. I can see that in the future. Hopefully by that time I won't have to peacefully protest.
So do you feel personally like this is affecting you in the way that you live your life and everything, and how it will affect you when you're out of school?
Yes, because I have to. It's always in the back of my mind. Like if I see a person of a different ethnicity, I have to think: do they think I'm scary? Do they see me as a threat? Are they going to hurt me? Are they going to mistreat me? I always have to have that in the back of my mind as a Black woman.
That's kind of terrifying, going out of their house every day. I can't imagine that. And do you feel that way when you see a police officer? Do you think that the police are agitating violence, or possibly could they be helping it? Because we have seen a surgence of, you know, police officers that are attempting to do nice things. We see that on social media too, you know. Have you had a negative experience with an officer before or anything?
Once in middle school, it was something so stupid and shouldn't have. We were outside of recess, and the resource officer, although he was our school resource officer, he was still an officer when he's not at school. He's, you know, he's through Charleston County working. And he told us to move out of the room, and we moved, but we didn't move fast enough for him, I guess. And my friend wasn't having a really good day, and she got a little smart on her mouth, not gonna lie, but he didn't need to twist her arm and throw her against a wall. So,
Oh my goodness.
and we were 12, so it wasn't. He's a grown man. I must be like 6'4". Didn't need to throw a 100-some-pound child against a wall, but.
So with that experience, you probably see police officers as agitating the violence. Just in everyday.
I'm wary of police officers. I don't want to assume that all of
Right.
them are terrible, because sometimes if you go into a situation already thinking that they're going to do something bad to you, you can kind of make it worse for yourself. I haven't had a whole lot of run-ins with officers.
You're a very well-behaved person.
Yeah,
You do the right things.
I haven't had much experience with
Yeah.
it. But like you said, with the surgence of police officers doing nice things on social media, I think it's important so people don't get confused and think that all police officers are like that. But I do think it should be known that there are some really terrible police officers out there, and those are the ones that need to be disciplined and reformed. So
When I actually spoke with the criminal justice head of the criminal justice department here, she was talking about there's always going to be a bad seed, with whatever you're doing. So I think it was actually very comforting for me to hear what she had to say about what the police are doing to kind of work with the new cultural norms, work with what's politically correct. And even though it makes their jobs a little bit more difficult, the majority of cops want to go to work and be happy with what they're doing. They want to believe that they're out there helping the public, So, do you believe that that's probably how it is? Would you kind of contest to that or agree with it? That hopefully you can have more positive experiences in the future with them?
Well, I would like to believe that.
Kind of like a believe it when you see it kind of thing? Yeah.
I think it's a systemic issue with for. So I know you, like you said, there are bad seeds, but some of those bad seeds are the sheriff, they're deputies, and they're making the rules, and they're not, and they're allowing their subordinates to perpetrate those ill feelings towards someone because of the color of their skin. So I do think it's important that they're, for making them get used to cultural norms, because I think the problem is they dehumanize other people, so they don't see them on the same level, so they're not going to treat them with the respect and dignity that they deserve. So I think once they're learning about other cultures and seeing that we all are people, just different color skin, maybe do things a little different, but we're still people and deserve respect. I think it will get better, and weeding out those that just refuse to never learn or be tolerant of those kinds of different people. So I think that's important also.
What other steps do you think they could take to, better provide, better protect, better, be there for their communities, make us feel safe as opposed to, oppressed and scared?
I think I've heard a lot of these police shootings. Police will come out and say that they feared for their life when it comes out that they probably didn't have a reason to. I think more training for them so that they're not so trigger happy. They learn how to assess the situation and do a proper takedown. You don't need to shoot 9 times at someone who has their hands up, or, it's because a lot of them are scared, and I get it. Every day you come into work, you don't know what you're going to get. I completely get why you'd be scared, but also it is your job to serve and protect, and not hurt everyone. So I think if we train them more, make sure they're more comfortable with the gun, we give them more ways to take someone down, and make sure we're safe, then I think it'll be better. I read somewhere that a cosmetologist requires more training hours than it does a ton of police.
Oh, wow.
So, and they're supposed to be protected and serving our communities. Well, I think that's one of the problems. You're taking poorly trained people and putting them in dangerous situations, and they don't know how to react. So their first instinct is to shoot.
Right. Because that's their only weapon. That's what they're given. And it's at a distance. It's almost seems like it would be.
They don't. Like a normal person, I think their first instinct would be to shoot someone. I think. But I think as an officer, you have a responsibility to kind of to think things through more thoroughly.
Right, and especially since you're going to be having a lot more background in that since you're going into nursing. They're going to have to tell you, you're going to have to learn how to think critically, and maybe not even if you're going to be an ER nurse, but if you're in a situation where you're dealing with a patient, you have to make that executive decision, like, what am I going to do, So I think that it's interesting that you have that opinion when, that's what you're going into is kind of critically thinking a lot.
Yeah.
So
I also don't think they get paid enough.
Yeah.
They're probably mad because they get paid $28,000 a year.
Yeah, that's a really big problem too, and we've also seen, after speaking with the criminal justice department, we've seen that there's a significant drop in the amount of students going into criminal justice, and that's sad too, because we want good people to go in, we don't want the trigger happy people walking in.
They get drunk on power.
Exactly. We don't want that. We want good-hearted people, and luckily here at Upstate we have a program, fostering those good people. Well, my next question though is pertaining to the Black Lives Matter movement again, and this is kind of a little bit of, it's more of an opinion-based question as to how you think, possibly how much time, how much effort do you think the Black Lives Matter is going to have to put in before we see some change, before we really can change what's systemically happening?
I don't know. Civil rights movement started, late 50s, early 60s, and we're still trying to change things. So I don't know. I think it's really the ball's in the U.S. government's court until they seriously reform certain things and start listening to their mission. I don't think anything's going to change because we can only do so much.
Right.
Protesting won't change law unless they allow the law to change.
Absolutely.
So I think that's on the government. They've got to make their move, or you're really gonna. It's gonna get worse.
What do you think they could do? So like more legislation,
I think
or
they need
just
more,
a social change, like a.
I think they need, for the Black Lives Matter, I think they need lawyers, people who know the law, who can help them pass legislation, so we can get to where we need to be, and also making sure that the police, people who are good are going to follow the law, because there are some that have no regards for the law and will just they have that power, so they think that they can just bypass it.
So maybe more police reform from the government's end, and also maybe some, something to help coerce businesses and things like that in society to provide people of all ethnicities, what their proper pay should be, all ethnicities, all genders, things of that nature.
Yes, if you have the qualities, you have the qualities. If you qualify for the job, that should be it. I should be getting paid as much. I'm qualified as him. I should be getting paid as much as him. So
And I love that you allowed me to do this interview with you, because you are actually, and I don't like bringing these things up, but you are level-headed and aware enough that you've already had these thoughts, I'm sure. But as a Black female, you are the most, you are considered one of the most oppressed, because as females we're paid less. The gender gap is real, and then also being a minority, or considered a minority, we all know that's not really accurate, I don't think, anymore. I think that's more of a negative term, personally. So I just really appreciate that you've taken the time to, because I know that you're affected by this, and it's a huge thing, and I'm glad to be doing this and hopefully opening the eyes of some of the students here. Have you witnessed anything at Upstate that would have caused you to feel any certain way about this issue?
No, my experience at Upstate's been actually really positive. I haven't had no professors that I felt maybe had a racial bias or anything. I mean, you might see a frat guy that you kind of look at, and he has a Trump sticker on the back of his truck, but I've been pretty positive. I've never felt unsafe because of my race or gender, so I think Upstate's pretty solid.
Oh, good. So what do you think? Do you think we can expect peace anytime soon?
Honestly, I think it's on the government. If you want peace, you have to start listening. Your job as the government is to ensure that the people their needs are met, and they're maybe not happy, but the vast majority of the people need to be, I don't know how to say this. Your job as the government is to serve the people.
Right,
and if you're not listening to the people are going to be angry, because they can't. What can we do? We have all the power, and we need you to listen to us so we can get where we need to be as a people. So.
And what do you think we as the people can do? Your peers, your coworkers, your family, the people that you are around every day, the people that are out in the public. What do you think we can do personally to each and every day to help this movement, so that we can recognize the Black Lives Matter movement?
Write to your state legislator. That's one way. You can even write to your U.S. representative. That's one way. And also, if you hear someone saying something kind of offensive or just downright ugly about another ethnicity, you can kindly inform them or try to enlighten them some bit. If you feel safe to. Some people you might
or remove yourself from it.
So I think, or just not be a part of that completely. So little things like that, or correcting microaggressions that people might commit, or things like that. But I think what's really going to help is writing to your state legislators, because if they're bombarded, they're like, well, I'm annoyed, so let me get this on through. And I think that's it.
So you feel hopeful, or you're hoping to feel hopeful?
I think this generation will probably be the one to come bring about peace because they're tired.
Mm-hmm.
You will listen to them. They won't be ignored. We're strong. Like, we're not. Like, we've seen what our grandparents went through.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen our grandparents fought for us not to deal with this, and we still are. So we're frustrated and we're over it. And I think the government may be hip to it. To be honest, I think they see that this generation isn't something to mess with.
So that's
So,
good.
yeah, I think change within this generation or the next, I think peace would come about.
Well, good. I'm hopeful. I really am. So, well, thank you again for doing
You're
this.
welcome.
And this is Shonice. So.